Cognitive development refers to the increasing efficiency and ability of the mental processes associated with perception, knowledge, problem solving, judgment, language, and memory. When infants and toddlers are actively engaged with the physical and social world, they reveal their developing cognitive abilities. To support their developing cognition, caregivers can create safe and stimulating environments with age-appropriate materials that invite engagement and exploration while interacting with them in language-rich ways. This section will present various strategies to create environments and interactions that optimally support the cognitive development of infants and toddlers. The best way for caregivers to start to learn about the cognitive abilities of infants and toddlers is simply to observe them, because they reveal their ever-evolving understanding of the world through their interactions with objects and people. To illustrate, look at the sequence of photos displayed on the screen of Nora, a 15-month-old toddler from Nigeria. There are a few different objects Nora is playing with. There are rectangle stacking blocks of various colors and sizes, and a recycled food container that has a circle cut out into the lid. This sequence of 6 photos represents only a few seconds of her play, but in just these few seconds, we can learn a lot about her cognition. When you look at the photos, what insight do they provide about Nora's developing understanding of how the world works? Nora has a yellow block in her left hand and a blue block in her right hand, but is primarily focused on the blue block. In front of her is this cylinder container with a hole in its lid, and various other blocks scattered around the base of the cylinder. With the blue block in her right hand, Nora moves it toward the hole in the cylinder container and drops it onto the container lid. When laid horizontally on the lid of the container, the blue block is too long to fit through the round hole. Nora lifts the blue block up again, angles one end toward the hole, guides the block partway into the hole, and releases it as it falls into the container. Nora swings her left hand with the yellow block toward the hole. In the same continuous movement, as her hand nears the hole entry point, she angles the end of the yellow block toward the hole and guides it directly through the hole. Nora picks up another yellow block from off camera and focuses her eyes on the hole as she again angles the end of the block toward the hole and drops it into the container. She selects an orange block, but as she moves it toward the hole, she moves her eye gaze away from the hole and toward the remaining blocks on the floor. As she looks toward the blocks on the floor, her hand guiding the orange block gets stuck on the lid as the angle of the block does not fit into the hole. She then looks toward the container, adjusts the angle of the block, and drops it into the hole. Nora grabs a large toy object from off camera and guides it toward the hole. In the first attempt to fit it into the container, it does not fit. Nora twists her wrist to change the angle and tries again, but it does not fit. These 6 photos of Nora represent only a few seconds of play, but nevertheless demonstrate important information about infant and toddler cognitive development. First, children are actively making sense of the world around them through interactions with the physical and the social world. Like young scientists, they use their knowledge to make a hypothesis, then act upon it, constantly updating their knowledge based on the results. In this way, it is through the interactions with the physical and the social worlds that cognition primarily grows. Therefore, the quality of the physical and social environments and overall learning experiences of infants and toddlers is of utmost importance for supporting optimal cognitive development. As evidence, let's next consider how the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated the significance of early learning experiences for supporting cognitive development in infants and toddlers. COVID-19 and quality care. COVID-19, coronavirus disease 2019, is a disease caused by a virus named SARS-CoV-2 and was first discovered in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. The virus spread throughout the world, and in the spring of 2020, many schools and childcare centers in the U.S. closed in an effort to reduce its spread and impact. The COVID-19 pandemic presented a unique opportunity to explore the importance of learning experiences on the cognitive development of infants and toddlers as the childcare arrangements of children changed. Compared to toddlers born before the pandemic, children born during the pandemic showed lower scores in cognition, language, and motor abilities as toddlers. The negative cognitive impact was greatest for boys and for children from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. These results suggest the pandemic somehow changed learning experiences enough to make a significant impact on the experiences that support optimal cognitive development. Although there are various potential contributing factors that could be argued to explain these results, such as reduced social interaction, increased screen time, increased parental stress, etc., one significant contributing factor was the care and educational experiences infants and toddlers received during the pandemic. During the early months of the pandemic, childcare arrangements shifted. Some childcare providers closed temporarily and later opened with strict protocols. Many children, instead of attending a group care program, stayed home under the care of parents and extended family. The various experiences infants and toddlers received during the pandemic had an impact on their cognitive development. One study examined how childcare arrangements during the pandemic impacted cognitive growth in infants and toddlers. Their data revealed that children who attended infant and toddler group care programs during the pandemic showed greater cognitive growth regardless of their socioeconomic background. The benefits of attending infant and toddler group care programs for cognitive development compared to other childcare arrangements such as care from a family member may be due to group care programs being more likely to implement developmentally appropriate learning materials and adult-child interactions, which scaffold learning and have been shown to promote early cognitive development. Interestingly, compared to children who attended infant and toddler group care programs, informal childcare by family members did not show the same benefits for cognitive growth. Although the overall evidence is mixed regarding the cognitive benefits of informal care, the strengths of infant and toddler group care programs, such as caregiver-child interactions, predictable schedules, lower screen use, and caregiver education, is likely to be important for supporting cognitive growth. The handful of studies that have examined the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the cognitive development of infants and toddlers have highlighted the role learning experiences have in supporting cognitive development. In particular, the quality of the care and educational experiences infants and toddlers receive are related to their cognitive growth. These findings further document the significant role infant and toddler caregivers have in creating safe and high-quality contexts that contribute to the trajectory of cognitive growth in children. In the next section, we will discuss 4 factors of infant and toddler quality group care that support cognitive development: environments, materials, experiences, and interactions. Cognitive development and the environment. Environments are significant in supporting cognitive development because they are both the stimulating backdrop and the active contributor of learning. Therefore, we should change the way we think of environments. We should think of them as learning environments instead of simply physical environments. Learning environments are nurturing spaces that support the development of all children. They include classrooms, play spaces, areas for caregiving routines, and outdoor areas. Learning environments are well organized and managed settings. They offer developmentally appropriate schedules, indoor and outdoor opportunities for choice, play, exploration, and experimentation. Learning environments include age-appropriate equipment and materials. They integrate home cultures and are flexible to support the changing ages, interests, and characteristics of a group of children over time. The educational framework of Reggio Emilia holds the classroom environment to a special status and therefore provides a great perspective to learn about how the environment can support cognitive development. Reggio Emilia was founded by Loris Malaguzzi, 1920 to 1994, to provide provisions for children of the city of Reggio Emilia, Italy, after World War II. The Reggio Emilia philosophy perceives physical space as a primary aspect of cognitive development, envisioned as a third teacher. What do you think it means to consider the environment as a third teacher? The importance of the environment lies in the belief that children can best create meaning and make sense of their world through environments that support complex, varied, sustained, and changing relationships between people, the world of experience, ideas, and the many ways of expressing ideas. While infants and toddlers are active meaning makers, the quality of materials and interactions in their environments influence the quality of meaning that they can make. Physically, Reggio Emilia classrooms generally incorporate natural light and indoor plants. Classrooms capture the attention of children through the use of mirrors, photographs, and children's work, accompanied by transcriptions. Other supportive elements of the environment include ample space for supplies, frequently rearranged to draw attention to their aesthetic features. The Reggio Emilia environment informs and engages the viewer, while always making an effort to create opportunities for children to interact. With this basic understanding of some of the ideas related to how Reggio Emilia regards learning environments, we can now start to consider important factors for creating learning environments in infant and toddler classrooms. Here are some factors inspired by Reggio Emilia to consider for the environments of infants and toddlers. Create environments that have an open concept, allowing flow between rooms and amongst areas within a classroom. Windows, indoor plants, and materials from nature create a feeling of flow between indoor and outdoor spaces. Photographs hung on walls should represent the children, their families, and individuals of various cultures who are enrolled in the program and that make up the local community. Hang child-created artwork around the classroom, ensuring they are placed on walls that are located at heights the children can easily visually engage with. Label shelves and containers to support early literacy and help make the process of finding and cleaning easier. Consider how the type of storage impacts invitation and ease of access. Storing and displaying materials in clear containers and open baskets visually invites children to play with them and provides easy access without challenging lids to open. In addition to the overall physical setting of the environment, it is important to consider how materials in the environment are arranged. Reggio Emilia philosophy suggests that children should be allowed to touch, move, listen, see, taste, discover, and explore the world around them in an enriching and supportive environment. Therefore, materials should be developmentally appropriate, intriguing, and easily accessible. The picture on the screen shows two collections of materials stored in baskets on a shelf. How does the storage and arrangement of the materials both invite engagement and allow for ease of access? The materials are stored in open baskets, so their contents are visible and easy to access. The baskets are open, without lids, inviting participation. Additionally, the baskets are placed on a low shelf at the height of children. Materials and cognitive development. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development proposed a pivotal connection between experiences and cognitive development during the sensory motor stage of infancy and toddlerhood. The sensory motor period begins at birth and continues through the child's first 2 years. During this stage, infants and toddlers experience the world through sensation, sensory, and movement, motor. Materials can stimulate both sensory and motor experiences and, therefore, are an important way to support the cognitive development of infants and toddlers. To encourage exploration, the selection of materials provided to infants and toddlers should be age-appropriate and based on what caregivers observe them to be interested in. As infants age, their strategies for exploring materials changes. For example, mouthing is a predominant form of exploration at 6 months of age, but is exchanged for more refined forms of manual exploration later in infancy. Another example can be seen in the developmental changes in grasping ability. Infants improve their grasping abilities between 6 and 15 months of age. Similarly, 12 to 14-month-old infants show appropriate anticipatory changes in grasp formation based on object shape and size compared to 5 to 6-month-old infants. Infants with more advanced motor abilities, that is, those who could crawl, stand, or walk, are more interested in objects with handles. Based on this research, caregivers should observe the developmental changes of infants and toddlers, such as exploration and grasping strategies, and provide materials that continue to challenge, intrigue, and support their age-appropriate developing abilities. For example, consider the collection of play materials in the image on the screen. How might the different developing grasping abilities of infants and toddlers influence how they are able to hold, manipulate, and explore the various materials? Along with age appropriateness, exploratory behaviors are also influenced by material properties, including size, shape, texture, and weight of objects. For example, infants showed greater grasping of smaller objects, whereas they looked more at larger objects. In addition, 9 to 12-month-old infants explored object properties such as shape, size, and texture by rotating, fingering, and transferring objects, whereas they explored properties such as weight, sound, and rigidity by banging and shaking objects. Infants' grasping patterns depended on object size and structure, as smaller objects were grasped with one hand and larger objects were grasped with two hands. Similarly, infants squeezed non-rigid objects more compared to rigid objects. This research suggests that caregivers should constantly be observing the developing abilities of infants and toddlers and providing age-appropriate materials based on those close observations. Loose parts. Loose parts refers to materials that are open-ended and manipulable. Loose parts are movable, non-dictated materials that children can use in a variety of ways. Loose parts are often considered in contrast to pre-designed toys, like most toys sold at stores. For example, a toy airplane, if provided to a child, will probably be used in a limited number of ways, limited to what the toy is, an airplane. In contrast, materials such as leaves and popsicle sticks affords creative engagement with unlimited ways to interact with the materials. The image on the screen is a picture of a loose parts table with various objects from nature. Small pumpkins, leaves, slices of trunk from a small tree, sticks, etc., and tools like tweezers and magnifying glasses to support further exploration. Take a moment to look over the objects and tools. Then consider these questions. What do you imagine toddlers doing while at this table? How many different ways of using the materials can you imagine for toddlers? How do the carefully selected tools, tweezers, magnifying glasses, further support exploration than would probably happen if the tools were not present? What other tools could be added? What cognitive concepts are toddlers experiencing as they engage with the materials? When children have exposure to intriguing loose parts, they become curious. Children's curiosity is triggered when they see and experience new things and have unique experiences that may not be otherwise possible in the indoor environment. This sense of curiosity is how children become inspired to engage in new explorations and discoveries. Loose parts give children the freedom to develop their play experiences based on their personal ideas and goals, rather than the play being predetermined by the materials or surroundings. This means that the materials do not dictate the type of play children engage in. Children create play episodes based on their past experiences, curiosity, creativity, and new ideas. Cognitive development and interactions. While materials are indeed important for supporting cognitive development, the interactions we, as caregivers, have with infants and toddlers may be even more important. Toddlers who experience more language from caregivers have greater cognitive abilities later in childhood. One study examined features of childcare quality for 2-year-olds and their potential association to later cognitive abilities when the same children were 4 years of age. Childcare quality was measured using 2 dimensions. The provision for learning dimension measured the availability, accessibility, and diversity of activities available for children. The teaching and interactions dimension measured the quality of the interaction and engagement between caregivers and children. Overall, higher levels of quality childcare at age 2 was associated with stronger cognitive abilities at age 4. Of the 2 dimensions, it was the dimension of teaching and interactions that was associated with longitudinal cognitive performance, supporting the role of quality interactions for cognitive growth. Interestingly, the provisions for learning dimension did not significantly contribute to later cognitive development. These results are supported by numerous studies that have found it is the quality of relationships and the interactions within these relationships during infancy and toddlerhood that are most significant for supporting cognitive development and long-term cognitive growth. In a longitudinal study, Tamas Lamanda and colleagues, 2019, found that the early learning environments of infants and toddlers predicted their later academic skills all the way out into 5th grade. Using the phrase learning environment can be slightly misleading, as it may lead one to think only about the physical environment and object materials. While one dimension of it did focus on stimulating objects and materials, the other 2 dimensions focused on stimulating engagement and interactions, frequency of engaging children in literacy activities, and sensitive and stimulating interactions. The research is clear. Access to quality learning materials is important, but it is the quality of the interactions while using these materials that may be the most important. What is the takeaway message for infant and toddler caregivers? Consider communication to be an integral part of the curriculum. If you plan an activity, do not just consider what the child will be doing, but also consider the critical role of the adult and their interactions during the activity. Enroll in or provide staff training that demonstrates how to improve interactions with infants and toddlers. Implement caregiving policies that support and encourage quality interactions such as primary care, small groups, continuity of care, individualized care, culturally responsive care, and inclusive care. Cognitive development and experiences. The overall value of high-quality experiences infants and toddlers receive during childcare supports their cognitive development. High-quality, center-based childcare during the first 3 years of life shows benefits for children's cognitive, language, and social development at school entry and beyond across a range of national contexts. These effects are particularly pronounced in children from disadvantaged backgrounds, meaning that investment in early childhood education and care is a powerful way of reducing socioeconomic inequalities. While the benefits of center-based childcare is well documented, the quality of care and education for infants and toddlers is not created equal, as numerous studies have documented differences in childcare quality. In a national study of early Head Start center-based programs for infants and toddlers in the U.S., most classrooms were of mid-range quality, with higher scores in the area of emotional and behavioral support and lower scores in the area of engaged support for learning. The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, NICHD, study of early child care is one of the largest research projects on early child care in the U.S., and it has followed over 1,000 children longitudinally to measure the long-term impact of experiencing high-quality infant and toddler child care. Children who received higher quality care as infants and toddlers scored higher on cognitive tests across the first 3 years and all the way through adolescence. Importantly, caregiver language, asking questions, responding to child vocalizations, etc., was the strongest predictor of cognitive development. The research is clear. High-quality infant and toddler care is important for supporting cognition. But what does high-quality care look like? The overall quality of care and education for infants and toddlers is commonly separated into two components: structural quality and process quality. Structural quality refers to components such as the physical environment, building, space, and materials, child-staff ratios, staff education and training, and curriculum. On the other hand, process quality focuses on the nature of interactions between the children and caregivers, among children and among adults, teachers, parents, staff, and on the nature of leadership and pedagogy. Structural quality is easier to measure, although process quality may be more strongly related to greater developmental outcomes. There are various tools that can be used to measure structural and process qualities. One commonly used tool is the Infant-Toddler Environmental Rating Scale Revised Edition, ITERS-R, used to measure the overall quality of classrooms serving children from birth through 30 months of age. The ITERS-R includes 39 items, organized under 7 subscales. Space and furnishings, 5 items. Personal care routines with infants and toddlers, 6 items. Listening and talking, 3 items. Age-appropriate activities, 10 items. Adult-child interaction, 4 items. Program structure, 4 items. And parent and staff communication, 7 items. ITERS Revised Edition, items and subscales. Space and furnishings, indoor space, furniture for routine care and play, provision for relaxation and comfort, room arrangement, display for children, personal care routines, greeting, departing, meals, snacks, nap, diapering, toileting, health practices, safety practices, listening and talking, helping children understand language, helping children use language, using books, age-appropriate activities, fine motor, active physical play, art, music and movement, blocks, dramatic play, nature, science, promoting acceptance of diversity, adult-child interaction, supervision of play and learning, peer interaction, staff-child interaction, discipline, program structure, schedule, free play, group play activities, parent and staff communication, provisions for parents, provisions for personal needs of staff, provisions for professional needs of staff, staff interaction and cooperation, staff continuity, supervision and evaluation of staff, opportunities for professional growth. Using the ITERS, scores of overall quality range from inadequate, score of 1, to excellent, score of 7, with a minimum, score of 3, and good, score of 5, in between. Studies that have used the ITERS to assess quality have found low scores in general. Research in the U.S. has found quality scores of infant and toddler programs to be in the low to medium range. For example, one study examined the quality of 93 toddler programs across the state of North Carolina and found that 83% of the programs were in the mid-range, with scores between 3 to 5. While child care centers in the U.S. score higher in overall average quality compared to most other countries, there is more variance in the quality of U.S. programs compared to other countries. Higher than average quality scores have also been found in Australia. ITERS scores from around the world are low. Results from studies in the Netherlands found an overall quality score on the ITERS to be at the minimal level, with an average score of 3, and showing a downward trend in quality over time. 75 childcare centers in eastern and western Germany had an average ITER score of 3.2. 3 studies in Portugal reported poor quality care and education with scores all under 3. Results from a study of 93 centers in Norway found a minimal average quality of 3.9. In Greece, infant and toddler programs ranged between 2.6 to 5.4 using ITERs. In England, 75 childcare centers were assessed and found to have a mean score of 4.2. Chile reported an ITER score between 3 to 4, with the public childcare centers, 3.08, scoring lower than private centers, 3.57. Across 79 infant and toddler classrooms from Jinan in the Shandong province in eastern China, the overall mean score was 3.5. Overall quality was low in Ecuador, with an average score of 2.08. What is the takeaway message for infant and toddler caregivers? Quality of learning experiences during the first 3 years is related to later cognitive abilities. Infants and toddlers who attend center-based programs of higher quality have higher cognitive scores later in childhood and adolescence. The overall quality of care and education infants and toddlers experience can vary widely. While programs in the U.S. tend to receive average quality scores in the mid-range and above, U.S. programs have been found to vary greatly in quality. While a handful of countries receive quality scores in the mid-range and above, many more countries consistently receive scores of low quality, emphasizing the importance of education and training for infant and toddler caregivers and staff. Caregivers can use measures of program quality, such as the ITERs-R, to assess the quality of their programs, identify areas of lower performance, and strive to improve. As process quality may be more strongly related to cognitive development than structural quality, caregivers can seek to actively improve their abilities and strategies for engaging with infants and toddlers, especially in terms of language exposure. Another tool that can be used to measure the quality of interactions between caregivers and children is the Classroom Assessment Scoring System, CLASS. The CLASS defines teaching quality through the lens of interactions. It provides the ability to measure and improve the interactions that matter most for student outcomes. Implementing a tool like the CLASS can provide data which can be used to provide professional development and improve overall quality. Infants and toddlers are active meaning makers, eager to engage with the physical and social world around them. Experiences that are age-appropriate and stimulating optimally support their developing cognitive abilities. Caregivers can play a pivotal role in supporting cognitive development by creating quality experiences with materials and through their interactions. This chapter discussed how caregivers can create environments and interactions and use learning materials to create overall high-quality experiences for infants and toddlers.